Hej och välkomna till detta webbinar som ska handla om nya tekniska lösningar som kan ersätta tredjepartskakor. Vi kommer reda ut begreppen och prata om alternativa lösningar här idag. Gulli heter jag och förutom att jag är affärsutvecklingschef på Bonnie News så är jag ordförande för IABs Task Force Post Third Party Cookies. Vårt uppdrag är att löpande informera och utbilda marknaden och vår bransch i de här frågorna. Och jag vill passa på att tacka alla mina fantastiska kollegor i Taskforcen för allt arbete de har lagt ner för att få ihop det här webbinariet. Och vi är väldigt glada att ni är så många som vill lyssna här idag. Så fokus idag är som sagt lite olika sorters matchningslösningar. Vilka finns? Hur skiljer de sig åt? Och viktigast av allt, vilken nytta har det för annonsören? Så håll i er, vi har snabba 6 minuters pass, vi har 5 presentatörer, det kommer gå fort det här, det är mycket information, det kommer vara väldigt matigt. Och målet är att ni ska få en överblick över de olika lösningarna. Och sen kommer vi avsluta med en panel och Q&A. Så skicka in era frågor så ska vi ta upp dem, passa verkligen på. Men först så kommer Christer att ge oss en liten bakgrund i vart vi står. Varsågod Christer.
Tack. Så då kan vi hoppa rett inn for første. Jeg tenker at en god introduksjon til temaet er å tenke litt over hva egentlig tredjepartskokken gjorde for oss i første omgang. Og det den har hjulpet oss til med er jo at han har gjort en bedre utgangspunkt for frekvensstyring. Den har gitt bedre targeting, kan man argumentere for. Men den har også, som vi kjenner til, økt privacy-risken. Og det er derfor vi ser den utviklingen som ser nå. Og så er det også veldig greit å tenke på at tredjepartskokken var aldri den perfekte løsningen, den holistiske løsningen som ga oss alt. Det var gap mellom browsere, det var gap mellom devicer, og den var også utsatt for å bli slettet. Så med det i tanken, før man går inn og ser nå på alle løsningene, så tenker jeg det er nyttig å ta liksom et steg tilbake og tenke over hva er det som er viktig når jeg trenger en alternativ løsning, trenger nye løsninger. Hva er liksom use cases som jeg prøver å løse? Og det vi har sett, og som ofte dukker opp igjen, er jo at det er kanskje 3 hovedkategorier av use case. Det ene er annonsører som ønsker å agere på egen data. Hvordan kan jeg bruke den dataen som mine kunder deler med meg når jeg kjøper media? Den andre er jo det å forbedre frekvens og forstå dekningen av kampanjene. Og det siste er jo hvordan kan vi gjøre targeting bedre gjennom å bruke data fra ulike steder på internett. Og hvis du tenker på disse use casene, så vil du se at de løsningene og presentørene som kommer etterpå, de kommer til å liksom plassere seg litt i ulike bolker. Noen kommer til å være innenfor flere av de. Ønsker du å aktivere dataene dine egne, så er det ofte fra et kundeprogram, fra CRM-data eller den type ting, og da vil du gjerne touche bort i ting som går på matching, på clean rooms og den kategorien av løsninger. Men du vil også være avhengig av publisher-login for at denne dataen skal kunne matches. Hvis målet ditt er å forbedre frekvens og bedre forstå dekning, så er du garantert opptatt av hvordan publisister har logginggrad og hvordan de bruker de. Du vil være veldig opptatt av hvordan dine tech-løsninger tilrettelegger for å bruke førsteparts-ID av både førsteparts-cookies, men også førsteparts-login. Mens hvis du er i den situasjonen at du trenger liksom mer targeting enn det 1 eller 2 aktører kan gi deg, så kommer du til å ønske å drille ned mer i finnes det noe cross-publisher-login baserte løsninger, finnes det noen muligheter å sy sammen førsteparts-ID-ene. Er det deterministisk, probabilistisk, litt avhengig av formene. Så jeg tenker at når du skal se på disse prestasjonene, når du senere skal be om å få, liksom, om du tenker på om du skal ta i bruk disse løsningene, så liksom, vår utfordring er å tenke liksom på 3 dimensjoner. Hvor mange mennesker kan faktisk denne løsningen påvirke? Og da snakker ikke vi om nødvendigvis hvor mange cookies har denne løsningen, eller hvor mange matchinger, men reelt sett med liksom et estimat hvor mange påvirker. For det er fint å ha en løsning som matcher folk helt perfekt og 100% deterministisk, men hvis det er 30 mennesker i et land med over 10 millioner mennesker, så har det mindre verdi. For eksempel publisist-ideer vil ofte ha ganske høy dekning, mens matching-løsninger i ulik grad vil ha det. Brukar du dina egna kunddata så vill du allerede där begränsa täckningen. Så det att tänka på liksom hur många människor kan det påverka med dessa lösningar. Och så det ligger sjuk på att det är privacy-dimensioner på dessa lösningarna. Det är olika risikoprofiler. Och alltså, brukar man matching-lösningar för exempel så har de ofta det slik att alltså, där har man väldigt god kontroll. Man har gärna dialogen med kunden och sånt. Men samtidigt så är datan på många måter mer sensitiva, mer specifika än för exempel cookie-baserat. Och den sista dimensionen är ju de taktikerna som tillates, hur stor impact kan jag ha? Har du en medieplan med en gigantisk publicist och en liten så är kanske inte det att koppla de idéerna så essentiella. Men och därmed är frekvensstyrning inte så stor impact. Men ska du aktivera datan dina så vet vi att de har dina egna data så vet vi att de har väldigt stor impact. Så det att tänka liksom längs dessa tre dimensioner tror jag är så nyttigt i förhåll till att värdera de olika lösningarna och upp mot de use caserna som du tänker på att lösa. Så det var egentligen en kort introduktion för att sända det tillbaka igen till studio.
Tack Christer. Och nu med mig har jag Thomas från The Trade Desk som kommer att prata.
Yes. Tack Dilan. Så, ja, precis som Christer var inne på, jag tror att vi kan vara ganska överens om att cookies är väldigt begränsade och kanske egentligen aldrig ämnat för att användas i annonsering som vi har gjort. Och det ploppar upp lite nya opt-in ID-lösningar. Det kan vara ganska snårig djungel att navigera i. Vi tror inte att det bara kommer att finnas en lösning som existerar framöver, utan vi tror att det kommer att kanske röra sig om ett handfull olika ID-lösningar, men att det viktigaste om det ska vara en ihållande lösning är då att den är privacy-säker, den ska vara en förbättrad variant av hur vi har haft det under cookie-eran så att säga. Sen ska också det vi tror på är att en ny lösning som är välfungerande ska också vara kunna fungera över olika plattformar. Den ska vara lätt att använda och den ska kunna agera med andra typer av ID-lösningar. Så mitt namn är i alla fall Thomas Wiksten, jobbar på ett bolag som heter The Trade Desk. Idag ska jag prata om EUID som är en ID-lösning som är baserad på deterministisk data. Det är en lösning som vi har tagit fram, men det är en lösning som egentligen inte ingår i vårt profit center, utan det här är någonting som vi ger bort till branschen. Och det här gör vi då för att kunna bibehålla den här värdekedjan som finns i vårt ekosystem med att publicisten ska tjäna pengar och så vidare, och att annonsören ska kunna göra en relevant annonsering. Jag nämnde den här värdeutbytet, alltså det vill säga på något sätt vad krävs från en användare för att en publicist ska kunna producera kvalitetscontent och att användare kan använda det gratis. Och vi tror ju benhårt på att det är en konsentad miljö, ett medgivande från användaren som gör att man kan bibehålla hela den miljön. Och vi tror att det kanske kommer att finnas några olika miljöer efter att cookien är helt utfasad. Till exempel en miljö som är helt oidentifierad, som kanske säljs till ett lägre värde. Och sen kommer vi då till den här ID-miljön där det faktiskt är en bekräftad användare. Tittar vi på EUID specifikt så är det då byggt efter 4 olika hörnstenar kan man säga. Så nummer 1, säkert och privacyvänligt. Det adderas som ett extra lager av säkerhet. Jag kommer att prata lite mer om det sen, men e-mailadresserna samlas ju in baserat på consent, och sen hashas det saltas, det krypteras. Vi kan gå igenom terminologin på hash och salt sen. IAD är också baserat på transparens och kontroll, och här är det viktigt att man sätter användaren i framsätet. Det ska vara tydligt varför man delar med sig av viss data. Det ska vara lätt att sätta sina preferenser, och det ska vara lätt att opta ut, och det ska man ju kunna göra när som. IAD är byggd på open source, och den är byggd för att kunna fungera tillsammans med andra ID-lösningar. Vi tror inte på en värld där på något sätt där man kan dra konkurrensfördelar i ID-miljön, utan vi tror på en öppenhet och en transparens där också. Så det är därför vi ger bort det här till hela industrin. Sen är det ju så att annonsörer och köpare överlag vill ju då visa sina annonser i miljöer där faktiskt folk spenderar sin tid, och det är det vi brukar prata om när det gäller det öppna internet. Och det kan ju vara allt från webb och mobil, men också till nya framväxande format som Connected TV till exempel, där faktiskt tredjepartskakor aldrig har existerat. Då ska vi se. Där. Och det är så här tekniskt jag kommer att sträcka mig till att vara idag, men jag tänkte bara snabbt ta med er på resan, vad som händer från ett consent till att det faktiskt köps och säljs programmatiskt. Så vi börjar med användare, surfa in på den publicisten, man vill läsa content eller vad man nu vill göra. I det skedet så publicisten ber om ett medgivande om att få ta del av användarens eller konsumentens e-mailadress, och samtidigt så förklarar man då den här värdeutbytet, varför man gör det, så det är jätteviktigt. Användaren bekräftar sin e-mailadress, sätter sina preferenser, sen slussas det här ID:et in då i själva ID-miljön, ID-service som vi kallar det, där det då krypteras med olika saker, som till exempel hashing, saltning, som innebär att man lägger på ett extra suffix på den här krypterade mailadressen. Och när det är gjort, först då man kan som publicist sälja det här programmatiskt. Sen ska man då matcha den här krypterade mailadressen med samma mailadress, men som är krypterad från annonsörens perspektiv. Det vill säga de har laddat upp sin förstapartsdata, CRM-data i sin DSP. Och sen matchar man då de här. Tittar man på rollouten eller hur vi ligger till, så kan man säga vi är egentligen i första fasen här. Vi har kört alfa sedan en tid tillbaka på display. Vi har kört det i 3 av de stora länderna här i Europa. Ett gäng publicister, ett gäng annonsörer per land. Sen är det då tanken att vi ska gå in i de andra faserna och slutligen då i en full rollout. Här kanske jag kan passa på att nämna att IAD är en europeisk variant av en ID-lösning som The Traders har tagit fram sedan tidigare, som är använt utanför EU, som heter Unified ID. Men det här är alltså en europeisk variant eftersom lagar och förordningar ser lite annorlunda ut. Sista från mig, 3 medskick egentligen från min presentation. Det är någonting som ni absolut har hört förut, men det tåls att upprepas. Sitt inte och vänta på att till exempel Google ska ta ett beslut om att fasa ut Chrome-cookiesarna. Utan ta kontroll över er data, engagera er, samarbete. Vi tror att det är en nyckel för att kunna fortsätta ha relevant annonsering och att publicister ska kunna monetisera sin verksamhet. Sist men inte minst så tror vi att det kommer inte bara finnas en lösning, utan de ID-lösningar som kommer finnas kvar framöver, det är de som faktiskt fokuserar och sätter användaren i första perspektivet. Tack för mig.
Tack Thomas. Så vi går snabbt vidare till Srini from Quantcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me the time to speak. My name is Srini. I'm from Quantcast. I work on the engineering side. Next slide, please. The way we've always looked at the cookie-less spectrum is that we would perhaps need to take a look at different approaches to the problem of trying to solve for the going away of cookies. The way we look at it is that there are deterministic identifiers, some combination of information that is truly known, and you can kind of utilize them for utilize them in place of your third-party cookies today. Or you can take a probabilistic modeling where you can use statistics to try and identify a combination of identifiers and other information that kind of maps to either the same user with some sort of statistical probability, or you can kind of take the third approach where you kind of shun all identifiers and just go with contextual targeting. Kind of say, look, you know, we're essentially going to be targeting based on information that's already available on the page and nothing more and nothing less. Next slide, please. All of these approaches need kind of different data. The approach around deterministic identifiers needs some sort of true ID. Probabilistic modeling needs a collection of information that can be statistically utilized to come up with useful, actionable insights. And contextual targeting needs you to really understand the context of the opportunity for you to be able to make a decision. So all of them need data in one form or the other. Next slide, please. So if you think about all of the three approaches, deterministic ID gives you extreme level of effectiveness. It's a very good drop-in replacement for third-party cookies, but they give you a small scale because you need the users to be able to, whatever process is used to kind of put together that identifier, you need the user to proactively take some measures to be able to be mapped to that system, and so it takes away the scale from it. On the other hand, if you look at contextual targeting, you get immense scale because all you need to know is the context of the page, but you get a lot less effectiveness in terms of understanding the audience, in terms of understanding targeting, and so on. And the statistical approach kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you a significant amount of scale, but it gives you reduced effectiveness, but still much better than contextual targeting. This diagram probably explains why Quantcast has always kind of gone with the statistical cohorts as our base, despite the fact that we're also building a significant amount of technology around both contextual targeting and deterministic ID. Our philosophy is that it's the move away from cookieless is probably going to be some mixture of different approaches. It's not going to be a single approach fits all. So we've been investing in all of them. Next slide, please. So the way, as I said, Quantcast is trying to kind of combine different abilities. We are looking at being able to produce first-party data with publishers, integrating with publishers, which provides us deterministic first-party data, which is consent-based and which is fully privacy compliant. We can combine this with more deterministic data with integrations with third-party, whether it's shared ID, and then we are now in the process of testing with LiveRamp and other partners. We can combine this with inbuilt statistical learning around cohorts, and that enables us to kind of give a variety of different ID optionality to our clients, right from just being able to use statistical models to being able to bring in clients' own first-party data and then map it to everything else we're doing. And added to this, we've been building a lot of IP around understanding the context of the page using technology called Topic Map, where we understand the context on the page, how it interconnects with topics, and how it integrates with everything else, and how valuable it is for a particular topic that a client might be looking to target. And so combined with all of this, we feel that we have enough technology to be able to kind of go from the cookie world to the post-third-party cookie world. Next slide, please. Very often, the going away of cookie is considered a challenge for targeting. But at Quantcast, we kind of feel that it actually affects the entire ecosystem of advertising, starting from planning. You need to be able to, a marketer need to be able to go in and say, hey, look, I'm looking for this kind of an audience. And the advertising industry has been a little bit fortunate being able to use third-party cookie for planning, targeting, and measurement, whereas any replacement for that should be able to do all three as well. So from our perspective, we are looking to solve the planning challenge, which then kind of leads into being able to use that in targeting, which then needs to feedback and measurement and optimization of campaigns, and then the cycle goes back in. And so we've focused our approach whenever we are trying to introduce any one of those kind of approaches. We want to be able to start with enabling the marketers to be able to do planning for their campaigns, planning and forecasting, then being able to target and then measure, and then being able to use that to go back into planning again. Next slide, please. Measurement is an important challenge. Very often we ignore the fact that third-party cookie was exceptionally versatile in its ability to be able to be able to use for attribution, for instance, attribution and measurement of what is it that an marketer was buying. For instance, 100 impressions in exactly your target demography is significantly more valuable for you than 100 impressions bought across a wide spectrum of audience that you may or may not know. And so from our perspective, solving that measurement has been an important aspect of our thinking from day one on how do we go about solving this. And I'm happy that our investments in that field is paying off, because today marketers can kind of do all those three steps without using cookie in our platform today. Next step. So where's been our journey? About 18 months back, we started with a kind of an, I would say, an alpha version of a cookieless solution. We have since been iterating. Can you please click on the next two slides, please? Right. So today we have hundreds of marketers using this technology successfully. It is live running, and it's been running so for many months now. We've been collecting a lot of data. We've been iterating on it. We've been going back and working with our clients on how to improve this. Today, clients can use cookieless in planning and forecasting. They can use cookieless in their targeting, and then they can also get cookieless attribution and cookieless measurement all rolled into the platform seamlessly without having to go out of the platform or do any other integrations. And that we feel is an important aspect of solving this problem. Next slide, please. Today, we believe that for marketers, using cookieless is a massive incremental opportunity. It lowers CPMs. It improves your ability to reach clients. As far as we're concerned, we believe this is a big opportunity for us to gain new customers for all marketers, and hence we're working with our clients to make sure that they're making the most of this opportunity. This is available in all the geographies that we are working in. Next slide, please. Well, we are extremely confident that as 2024 rolls in, we will have an end-to-end solution that works for all of marketers' needs. Today in Sweden, for instance, all 100% of our campaigns are running cookieless, and roughly about 95% of even our older campaigns have been migrated off to some version of cookieless. So we're extremely confident that we'll be able to mitigate this and provide a solution that works for our clients, despite the messy nature of what this transition is going to look like. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreni. And over to our next speaker. Nu kommer Martin från Adform och prata. Välkommen Martin.
Tack så mycket för den presentationen. Jag kommer köra på engelska idag, men hej till alla svenska lyssnare. Ni får höra av er till mig om ni vill ha det här på svenska. Det kan bli lite komplext. Yes, so thank you for that introduction. I'm doing this in English, even though I'm working in Adform in the Stockholm office, but just for all the international listeners out there. And I'm going to be talking about ID Fusion, which is the solution that Adform has presented to the market to solve this challenge of third-party cookies and other identifiers going away. And it's a very flexible solution. It's easy to use, so it's built for you to be able to work out what functions best and what performs best for you as an advertiser or publisher. And it's been released since 2020, so we celebrated 2 years a couple of weeks back here. And as you can see in the slide, it's been a good couple of years. We won multiple awards, and Adform works very, very hard to be a transparent and privacy-preserving option in ad tech. So we're extra happy, when we win awards like Best Privacy-Preserving Technology. So going to the next slide, ID Fusion is sort of to define it a little bit. It's not an identifier. So like what Thomas, I guess, was talking about, we do not have our own first-party ID. We believe, like I said, that you know what's best for you, and that's for you to find out. So it's time for you to take control, find out which identifier you want to work with. And in that sense, Adform is flexible. We're ID agnostic, and we can work with any ID that we get in the bid stream or that the clients or on the advertiser's side wants to use. So if it's ID, first-party ID in your CDP or CRM system, for instance, we can use that, or you can work with one of the larger sort of first-party ID providers. And like I said, we focus on simplicity. So all clients in our platform use some sort of cookieless solution today, but we also support other solutions like onboarding data via our DMP, data clean rooms, or if you want to use like one of these universal authenticated identifiers, for instance. And clicking to the next slide, please. Another important difference that we want to make clear is that we work with first-party IDs, not your sensitive first-party data. We like to call it data for digital advertising, because there's a lot of data out there that shouldn't be broadcasted to every partner and every sort of publisher and provider out there. So we like to say that ID Fusion handles identifiers, not your data. That should sit secure behind locked doors somewhere else. And we do this to minimize the risk, of course. And in other words, if we get some sort of sensitive type of data, like emails or telephone numbers or something, we instantly delete it from records and any servers. So going to the next slide, the current status of the industry is that we have a lot of different types of solutions out there, like just you see here today in this webinar. We have solutions and IDs on the advertiser side, same on the publisher side. We have these ID vendors like ID5 or LiveRamp or similar. We have logged in IDs, unauthenticated IDs. There's a lot of different types of terminology. And clicking to the next slide, that creates a lot of fragmentation. So at Adform, we support multiple IDs, 50, 100 maybe. It changes every day. But this is, I think, what's needed for the industry now, to be flexible and to be able to work with multiple IDs, like you can see here. We like to say that we bridge that gap to basically put the end user and our clients in the driver's seat, because that's what's important now, to take that control, because it's your data, it's your identifier, you're responsible for that. You should also utilize that opportunity and take control over it. Everything we build, like I said, is privacy first, consent based, and using IAB standards like consent with TCF, for instance. And this approach is shared by a lot of other companies like SSPs on the publisher side who support multiple IDs. So if we go to the next slide, a good example, I think, is a partner to ours, which is Schibsted, that uses our SSP. They're really offering a solid solution to the market, taking control, using their own Schibsted first-party ID that we can support via this solution. And through that, we have 2 million logged in users weekly that we can reach through Adform, which I think is a great sort of offering to the market, both from our sake, but also, of course, from Schibsted. So last but not least, going to the next slide here, we also, I think many of you here in this audience have probably heard about ISBA and their transparency report on the entire programmatic ecospace. That was audited by PwC, and we hired the same team to audit our entire platform, but most importantly for this context, to audit ID Fusion and to prove that we have really, really great results, as you can see here in this slide. You can download that report on PwC's website. We also have 50 plus something cases on our website that you can download and learn more about ID Fusion and how we look at sort of going from third-party cookies to a cookieless world. So thank you. Quick roundup of our solution. Thanks for listening.
Tack snälla Martin. Hörrni, det går snabbt det här. Vi är halvvägs. Superintressanta dragningar. Och vi fortsätter till vår nästa talare. Welcome Shez from Qteo.
Thank you for the kind introduction and invite. It's great to be here. So, as you say, my name is Shez Iqbal. I'm the Director of Publisher Partnerships at Qteo, covering Northern Europe. Today I'm walking you through addressability with commerce media. So your one slide here, brilliant. So you might be aware, we at Qteo are the global leader in commerce media. To meet the needs of marketers, media owners, and consumers, we've developed the commerce media platform so that our customers can deliver ad experiences that resonate for their consumers. The commerce media platform offers marketers the ability to activate and measure their advertising campaigns, while simultaneously offering media owners the ability to monetize audiences, inventory, and data effectively. Built upon our first-party media network, an integrated system of commerce data and AI that lets marketers and media owners connect, enhance, and activate their first-party data to enhance scalable, targeted, personalized advertising ad experiences that benefit all, including consumers. This includes our new supply-side solutions, which offers quick, streamlined access to our powerful commerce data. Next slide, please. Thank you. For almost 20 years, we've invested in building our first-party data set, growing it into the largest commerce data set on the open internet, which you can see here. Our commerce media data set includes engagement events with over 120 plus intent signals per shopper, identifiers with first-party data from 22,000 clients, and product information from 21 billion product interactions captured per month. Next slide, please. Thanks. There is no single post-cookie solution. I think it was mentioned quite a few times already today, and we can't, of course, replace cookies with muffins and hope to fill the same gap. As you can see here, we believe, like my colleagues here on the panel, a mixture of different solutions are required to deliver intent-driven targeting. Authenticated users account for 20 to 30% of traffic. ID resolution accounts for 10 to 30%. And there's that gray zone of opted out users with no ID coverage, such as Safari traffic. To build on this, on the next slide, we see there are 3 must-haves for advertisers when it comes to addressable media. Yeah, brilliant. Truly addressable media must be able to engage, measure, and optimize against campaign goals. These 3 are important to ensure campaigns continue to engage with the right audience, measure against performance, and of course, allow for optimizations, enabling the ability to fine-tune performance. Next slide, please. Of course, like my fellow panelists, we prioritize consumer choice, privacy, fair competition, and results. Qteo's addressability strategy puts the consumer at the center. We only touch de-identified or random IDs, which means we never engage with risky, personally identifiable information. We support the open internet, which means we believe in interoperability and easy accessibility for all. Qteo intentionally uses interoperable solutions rather than creating Qteo-specific ones so that our partners can use the match keys and data that they already have, rather than spending more effort building and developing Criteo-only workflows in order to work with us alone. High-performing addressability solutions engage targeting, measurement, and optimization at speed with scale. We chose solutions that operate in as many environments as possible and even add our data-driven contextual capabilities if and when no IDs are present in order to provide the greatest addressable coverage to our partners. Next slide, please. A few slides back, I mentioned the need for multiple addressability solutions, and again, some of the other panelists have mentioned it too. Our diversified addressability strategy and AI solutions is already proving performance in signal loss environments. Our truth set is the world's largest shopper graph with matched identifier-based traffic connecting advertisers and media owners. We build on this further with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and advanced sentiment analysis to predict outcomes for non-addressable commerce audiences. And of course, we have our unrivaled core assets, which takes advantage of our first-party media network. Our engine analyzes more than 2.5 billion identifiers, 120 plus intent variables, and 10 billion product SKUs to help us optimize towards campaign KPIs. Next slide, please. Our aim, of course, is to deliver higher CPMs and higher yield by maximizing addressable inventory with the use of hashed emails, contextual analysis, and unauthenticated techniques. Furthermore, we want to increase the value of addressable traffic by enriching it with first-party data from our unique commerce audiences and conversion tracking capabilities. Next slide, please. Thanks. With our 22,000 advertisers, with over 22,000 advertisers, our goal is for publishers to leverage as much of this demand as possible. We do this through our connect, enrich, and activate approach, using Criteo Tech to match publisher data to our advertisers, which is the data already available to us. Our aim is to increase the value of publishers' addressable traffic and signals by enriching it with first-party data, as mentioned before. Next slide, please. Brilliant. Criteo has two privacy-safe and secure solutions for media owners to pass HEMS either online directly in the bid stream or offline by inserting a partner ID into the bid stream and mapping that to a HEM offline. A partner ID is essentially a visitor ID, a first-party cookie dropped by the publisher, or could be a designated CRM ID, account ID. No matter the preference of the media owner, Criteo has a way for our partners to share HEMS, increasing media owners' yield on, again, Safari and Firefox, making the inventory more accessible. And of course, for us, privacy is our guiding principle. Every day, over 600 terabytes of data constantly informs Criteo's shopper graph to drive results. Every bit of that data is consented, collected, and secured with a firm promise to consumers to uphold online privacy and choice. We're privacy by design. I'm going to wrap up here, but I think the slides are going to be available anyway. So next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Shez. Så hörni, jag vill uppmana er att ställa frågor. Ni ställer dem där i fönstret där och skickar lite frågor. Jag tänker mig att alla funderar massor och passa på nu att skicka så mycket frågor som det bara går. Och nu,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Okej, nu närmar vi oss. Nu är vi klara med alla våra talare. Snabba 6 minuter. Alla var fantastiska på hela tiden också. Väldigt imponerad över det. Och nu ska vi gå över till panelen och den kommer vi hålla på engelska så att alla kan vara med. So now it's time for our panel discussion. So I'm gonna welcome up Thomas and all the rest of our panelists. And that's gonna be Martin, Shreni, Shez, Nilo and Thomas Wiksten. And we're also inviting, as I said, Nilo from Curamando as one of our panelists. Så det är bra, Thomas där.
Ja, sådär.
Okay, so first of all, thank you all for the great presentations. And let's deep dive a bit into the subject. And I can start with you, Thomas. So when talking about ID solutions and different matching solutions, we are actually talking about a lot of different data points. There is a big risk for confusion here, I would say. So what would you say are the factors that determine an ID and an ID solution?
So if I start with the ID part of it, I would say like the factors that determine that is, it could be determined by, hashed email that I talked about for UID. It could be like IP addresses, it could be cookies, it could be other probabilistic signals. So I think ID is a broad term, but I think that those are some of the common factors.
Okay, thank you. So giving the same question to you, Shreni, would you agree on that? What's your point of view?
I think we've been spoiled in the industry that third-party cookie kind of served multiple different purposes. I think what is going to happen in the future is IDs are going to be used on a very bespoke model. For instance, we were using third-party cookie for frequency capping. A new solution, for instance, doesn't need to be as versatile as a third-party cookie to be able to solve a use case like frequency capping, for instance, right? So what will likely happen is that, different sets of IDs with different properties are going to be used for different stages and different features. And that looks messy. It looks complicated. But the reality is that I think we need to be, we need to be a little bit smart about, as an industry and as platform building companies, we need to be smart about how to utilize what set of properties to be able to solve what set of problems for our marketers, and still be privacy compliant and still provide scale and value for our marketers. So I think it's going to be different than what has been in the past, but I'm sure that we'll be able to get through and provide the right solutions.
Yeah, passing that question to you, Martin, also, could there be a problem that that we're talking about IDs and matching, but in reality we're talking about a lot of different data points that needs to be collected? Do you see the confusion here, and what's your point of view from AdForm perspective?
Yeah, it's definitely complicated and confusing. In terms of, I'd like to separate like a specific ID and then like a ID matching or ID processing solution. Those two are a bit different. In terms of like specific IDs, you have authenticated and unauthenticated, and then you can split those down further into like a tree, and you can have that tree as big as you want. But I guess like hashed email based and probabilistic solutions that kind of model relationships between different IDs is two. And then I guess going forward, I would say we think that both will be used for different types of use cases, and yeah, who knows exactly who will win this war of IDs or solutions. Like I said in the presentation, I think it's important that we have a variety of options to choose from.
Thank you, Martin.
Looks like Thomas wants to say something.
Yeah. Jump in.
Yeah, thank you. Being aggressive here now. So I think just to kind of what Martin said, like at the Traders, we don't really believe that is a war that will be won. I think identity is all about collaboration and working together as an industry in order to kind of maintain the ad ecosystem in a good way.
So a more friendly approach then,
yes,
from you guys. Okay, I want to pass this to you, Nilo. You're representing the advertising part. What's your point of view on this? Maybe confusion, I don't know, maybe it's very clear. What would you say?
Yeah, I think that the confusion could be between like what's an identifier, like what's the actual signal, and that can be, of course, a lot of things. But then, and usually we do talk about deterministic data, but then when we talk about ID solutions, usually we include, or not just ID solutions, but matching solutions. We include a lot of different ways of working with it. It could be both deterministic data and probabilistic data, but it can also be like taking in a lot of other IDs and combining those. So it can really be like a full kind of solution, so to say.
And Nilo, when you're saying other IDs, what do you mean when you say that? Is that other ID solutions or is it other different data points?
Different data points, deterministic data. It can be like from companies that only work with pure like identified authenticated users, and that's what you could take in, of course encrypted and hashed, but still something that you can work with, and then you can combine and you can try to calibrate those and try to achieve a higher scale and reach.
So I want to pass it to you also, Shez, in the subject. Is there a confusion, and how can we make it much more clearer to the market, would you say?
So firstly, I'd say it's Nilo's opinion that counts here, right? With representing the advertiser. So that's what we need to rally around, and we need to support and understand, especially where, you know, where that's where the dollars are coming from. From our end at Criteo, we have our first party demand and of course our NSSP. So we're not an ID solution, but and with that in mind, and the reason why I raise that is we've really rallied around the ability to match on HEMS, so first party data. And that's allowed us to work off in a sort of closed ecosystem. I think there is a number of conversations in play here, which is one about the ID solution and the other one's around addressability. And I do agree that from an addressability perspective, you've got to add in multiple different solutions to diversify. So if we look at it not from an ID perspective, but addressability, yes, you've got your first party data, you've got third party ID solutions as well, you've got contextual that's added in there, which was mentioned a number of the presentations as well. So I do feel like there are a number of solutions there. And I feel like the confusion maybe is because each, and I think it was mentioned back in the studio as well, that each are working with their own vision, but we do need to be interoperable and working for the open ecosystem.
Yeah. And as you mentioned the dollars, so let's go back to that. So what would the actual value be for the advertiser when using these kind of different ID and matching solutions? You can start off, Shez.
And I think it's a really important question, because a lot of publishers have invested in ID solutions without seeing the value on the back end, right? So there are a number of, I'm not going to name names, but there are a number of ID solutions in market that have made big promises, especially those that have come from the States, that perhaps haven't quite translated exactly the same in EMEA, not for any particular reasons, apart from the fact that they're not as evolved here locally. I feel like any publisher investing in an ID solution needs to ask that exact question, and it's market specific. So from a Criteo, and we would say that over 50% of our advertisers are sharing some level of first party data, if not HEMS, and that helps us deliver a level of uplift which varies market by market across EMEA.
Okay, Shreni, do you want to answer that? What is the actual value for the advertiser? And please, more specific this time.
In the end, the advertiser has to gain the same thing that they do for any advertising dollars, which is that they should be able to grow their revenue. Everything else is internal marketing speak, right? In the end, it's their dollars growing their revenue that matters. And so long as A, we can do that, and B, we can measure and be able to report that that's happening, I think we as an industry would have done well. So that should be the ultimate value for advertisers. To the other part of that, the derivative part of it, is that to enable them to be able to do it, the ad tech tax on the advertiser needs to be minimal, which means that we are not going to be able to solve it by saying, we were already having n number of costly tech solutions, and then we're going to add one more, and then, hey, advertiser, here you are, pay up for this. I don't think that's going to be very good. We need to be able to produce incremental revenue for advertisers without adding more tax, and that is why I feel like solutions that can on the get-go be able to solve for, let's say, 70-80% of advertisers' needs without having to plug in more and more technologies, is likely going to win this battle, win this race, or win this kind of collaborative approach, as Thomas puts it. So that's my take on it.
So who's going to take that cost then, Shreni, would you say? Because you obviously need more solutions, which you all presented today. How do you see, is it more going towards a more full stack solution, or how would you say that that's going to work in reality?
Approach so far, yeah. So Quantcast's approach is that we are providing cookieless at the same price point as cookied, and we're doing it end to end. So if an advertiser moves from a cookied campaign to a cookieless campaign, effectively they are getting the incremental revenue opportunity for no additional cost. And there will be advertisers who will come in and want to do bespoke integrations and pay for it, but those we feel are going to be the incremental opportunity over that 80%. But for those 80% of the opportunities, we believe that it should just be plug and play and get moving.
Nilo, so to you, what would you say is the actual value for the advertiser when using these kind of different idea and matching solutions?
Yeah, so I think the value subject is very important for our clients. And initially it's drilled down to efficiency, like how can we work more efficient to really try to reach our target groups and make sure that we can have like the width of way of targeting, measurement, and so on that we could with third-party cookies, of course, but also I think this is even broader. I think the accuracy with ID solutions is a lot higher than third-party cookies. But of course, to really bring that value, we also need scale. We need to make sure that we can have as much reach as possible. And then, of course, it's important that we can use this both for branding purposes in terms of reach and frequency, but also for performance, so that we can work with retargeting, for instance, lookalike modeling, and really work with algorithms to get as much efficient buying and measurement as possible. So all of this really brings the efficiency value to our clients.
And I think that's a good point of view, because I think we have a tendency to talk about that this will solve the third-party cookie problem. Instead, we should talk about giving the market an even better solution, maybe, because there has been, as Christer talked in the beginning, a lot of issues with third-party cookies. I need to move on. No, it felt like you want to say something, but you're not going to get the next question. So there is a lot of talks about ID solutions, but also contextual solutions, and it feels like those are the two solutions that we talk the most about. For now, let's see what's happening in the next couple of months. But from my understanding, the adoption rate is still very low, and so my question is that a right statement? If yes, why? If no, where are all the success cases? I want to push that to you, Martin.
Well, like I said in our presentation, we have over 50 successful cases on our website, including the one from PwC that you can read on their website. But I think there's a bit... of course, the economy now, but also reluctance to try new things. This, like we said multiple times, is a complex topic, and I would say that's probably the main reason why we haven't seen that high of adoption. In some cases, we have clients who work with it, every day, like have specific strategies for cookieless or first-party based strategies, but there is a lower adoption, and I think, of course, we still have third-party cookies in some sense, but there's a lot of other things, like I said, the economy, but we're also, moving more towards omni-channel, and there I think there's a potential actually for first-party IDs, because third-party cookies are not usable in like in-game advertising or CTV and things like that. So I think we're going to see a lot more adoption after the third-party cookie is completely gone, and we can prove sort of like to the other question, better ROAS, return on ad spend for our clients, I would say.
Thomas, what do you say? Is it a true statement? Is the adoption rate low?
So if I speak for EUID specifically, currently we're in this alpha that I mentioned in my presentation, so obviously for that reason. So in general, perhaps people have waited a bit too long, like not to blame anyone, but I think when a statement comes out, it gets urgent, and then the statement gets withdrawn or whatever, and then people get leaning back again. So I think, like I mentioned in the presentation, that like the time is now. But yeah, so don't sit and wait for stuff,
So no sense of urgency, maybe. So what would you say, Shez, about that? Is there a low adoption? Is that statement correct?
I think there are a number of factors there. I think Martin and all sort of addressed it correctly, that we've still got a solution right now. So it's really difficult to move, if I go back to the dollars, from a current solution that works, that we're all familiar with, into contextual, which, I mean, arguably we've all invested in previously as well. I think there's the other component to that, which is coming out of the pandemic and coming out of a lot of, should we say, heavy news. Context is a really difficult one for some advertisers to put their dollars against. So I think it's important when you're looking at contextual, like we have on our end, to also look at new environments. So hence why we work quite closely with commerce media and commerce media solutions, and also the sentiment of the page. So giving an appreciation back to advertisers on what the sentiment is around the context on a page, ensuring, of course, the brand safety component, which is heavily linked to contextual targeting, but also supporting publishers to ensure that their pages that could get flagged are not, if it's actually a safe environment. So I think the sentiment is really important too.
So do you guys, we're obvious reasons focusing on the Swedish market here, so it's IAB Sweden. We talk a lot about that. How do we differ from different markets? Would you see that the Nordic region is doing this differently, maybe moving slower than other regions in Europe? What do you say about that, Shreni?
I mean, at least the Quantcast evidence that looks like Sweden is moving pretty aggressively. All 100% of the new campaigns that are coming on is turning on cookieless by default, and that means that the adoption rate on moving towards cookieless is pretty good. It also depends on the product mix. So for new products like CTV, for instance, it completely sidesteps the issue of third-party cookie, for instance, and it's forcing marketers to kind of rethink the entire ecosystem on those channels. But coming back to kind of traditional display video kind of channels, I think what is happening is adoption is high, but it's the dollars that are still going on, let's say, opportunities with and without cookies. That is migrating a lot slower. So, everybody wants to be buying, but the natural sort of opportunities and the mix of what comes out of that is still low, but it's trending in the right direction. It doesn't help, as Tomas put it, that I think the announcements keep changing and the target keeps moving. So I think it gives marketers a little bit longer kind of. There's still some sense of like, hey, let's kick the can down the road kind of thing. But Sweden, I think, is doing pretty well, at least from everything I've seen and spoken to my colleagues in Stockholm. So yeah, I'm happy to see that, and hopefully Sweden will get there sooner than some of the other markets.
So Nilo, we're hearing there's no sense of urgency, but also you pointed out all the advantages with these kind of solutions. What would you say? Why are the adoption rate not fast enough?
Yeah, I think in one sense we're talking too little about this. I think we still need to reach out more to advertisers and really address the value of working with these cookie-less solutions. Of course, I try to push my clients a lot, so I would say that the adoption rate is quite high amongst my clients. But my general feeling of the industry is that many advertisers are still kind of waiting for the solutions, maybe to become perfect, and maybe that will take time. And in the meantime, you will still need to test it for your specific business needs. So I would really urge you to test it, because you cannot sit around and wait for the solutions to get perfect. I mean, all of these solutions are still in development, and more features are coming up. So yeah.
And is there a part of this that feels too complicated to implement from the publishing side or the advertising side, or is it very much straightforward? What do you say, Martin? You have a lot of success cases, as you pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you want to approach it. To also sort of parallel back to what Nilo said, I think it's, you know, there's various reasons, but it's also a sensitive topic in terms of privacy. But now you can try out a lot of different types of advanced types of strategies, like you can do retargeting or that type of stuff via data clean rooms and target only your specific users in a very sort of controlled environment. That's a very advanced solutions that not many advertisers have tried. But now you can also test just, you know, bidding with frequency on a single publisher and seeing what your sort of results are from that. Yeah.
And you pointed out privacy, and I think that coming from the publishing side, there is a large privacy concern, obviously, for all of us. And when meeting with different companies, there's also always a slide, privacy safe. We have everything solved. But how can you, as a publisher or advertiser, be comfortable in that statement? What would you say, Shez?
Thanks. I think that for us, again, because we've got our own demand and supply, and we're taking in the hems from our advertisers direct, usually, and of course from the publishers direct as well. It's just a match it's just a straight match. So from a privacy perspective, there's no leakage, and of course we do also work with, you know, third parties like data clean rooms as well, if needs be. So from a privacy perspective, we don't really see an issue there. But it's a good point, because I can totally understand why publishers don't want to, you know, they're fearful of now having their first party data becoming so valuable and not wanting to leak it across the entire ecosystem. And that's why what we ensure is that when we've got a match, we're only really optimizing our spend on that specific publisher. We're not sharing it. It's not pooled data, and everything that is super sensitive is abandoned. We're not storing it. We're not saving it. We're not retargeting against it. So that's my take on it.
Great, guys. Thank you for a really interesting discussion. So I just want to stop there, because we are getting a lot of questions, and then we really need to, because I've been pushing for that, so now we need to answer them. So first a question, one of our viewers thanking for the very interesting presentations, and is asking, how do the ID solutions work for the user compared to the third-party cookies? What is the user flow? Who wants to answer that? Srini?
Sure. When you say user, is that the user in the browser?
Yes, I think that is...
At Quantcast side, I think we just think it's going to be absolutely seamless. It is, you know, our primary solution is a combination of first-party cookie and statistical, computation, and that doesn't change the user experience at all. They will still see consent, pop-ups, because that's just the way regulation works today, and they'll need to give consent. But beyond that, and that's something they've already been doing for almost 5 years now, since GDPR came along in 2018. So that shouldn't change. And beyond that, the user experience should be the same. In fact, the user's data is now going to be, passed around less, and that at least is an improvement over whatever it is that was happening in the third-party cookie world. And yeah, but that also means that users will often see ads that are not necessarily as targeted to them as it was earlier, and they'll probably have to live with the fact that some of the ads that they're going to see are going to be less relevant to them. But that's just the natural outcome of the fact that we're moving to a world where we're going to be using less of deterministic data.
Great, thank you. Next question. So there is a lot of emphasis on using email as the most feasible, profitable solution post-cookies. Can you please elaborate on that and if that is the case? Who wants to have that question? Maybe Thomas?
Yeah, I can take that. So, I mean, to get back a bit on what I said during the presentation, we don't believe that like there's one solution to rule them all. So, but what we do believe is that like advertisers are investing heavily in their first-party data, and we need to kind of upgrade the actual user experience for the consumer. So, with that said, we believe that hashed emails are a strong and feasible solution when you as an advertiser want to do addressable targeting and reach your like specific target groups, and you can do that on scale, and you can have a like a holistic frequency managing view. So I think with that said, we believe there will be several solutions out there, but from the addressable part perspective in this ecosystem, we think that email is a feasible version.
Perfect. So we're going to move on. We are getting close to the end. So one question is, what is the trend among the publishers in the UI and also Sweden? How many solutions and vendors can be efficiently managed in a post-third-party world? Ches, do you want to try to answer that?
Do I want to try and answer that? No, not really. So how many there are going to be lots of solutions. I feel like, so my head's still stuck on the previous question. So I'm just going to say that I do agree with Thomas on the HEMS part. And I think HEMS is important. And I think publishers and advertisers spent a lot of time to increase their first party data file and databases. And then in terms of number of solutions, I think there will be a number of solutions that are also spun off of either HEMS or first party data, and we'll have to test and we're probably in another period of continuous testing and iterations. There's not going to be one, like I said earlier, you're not going to be able to replace cookies with muffins, and we do need to diversify the approach. So I don't know if that did answer the question. You
didn't, but so I'm going to rephrase it. I think it's about, all of you have been talking about there's no one solution that's going to solve it all. We're going to have to work with a lot of different solutions, different data points, and that makes it a bit complicated. So will the publishers need to work with a lot of different vendors to make this happen? And from a privacy standpoint, that is a bit problematic.
I don't think that publishers should work with a lot of vendors. I think that they should definitely lean in on their vetting process, like they do with any partners that they work with, to ensure that there is the demand behind those solutions. So again, getting closer to Nilo and her side of the table to ensure that there is that clear communication on both sides. So otherwise, as you say, they'll be investing a lot of time and effort in solutions that aren't going to garner the value.
Thank you. So we have a last question, and now, so it's pouring in, guys. Very interesting. So we have one, maybe, I don't know if it's a question, but it's a statement. In 2022, Adform launched a survey among Nordic advertisers. 79% saw it critical to find solutions to replace third-party cookies, but only 33% saw themselves well prepared for post-third-party world. So that's interesting. I don't know if anyone wants to add something to that, but I think that we've already talked about that. It's important, but the adoption maybe is a bit low. The last question, how do the ID solutions tie into the TCF consent? regardless of its probabilistic or deterministic IDs, I assume that consent will still be required. This is really interesting. Who wants to...
No, I can take that. Yes, of course, consent is still required and should be followed rigorously. And in most cases, I would guess for most companies here, it's just the same as with third-party cookies. We need to follow the consent flow and whatever regulation we get, and of course also have contracts with our clients that demand that same sort of standard.
Yeah. Do you want to add something, Srini?
I mean, I just feel like it's going to be a continuation of the same world, at least from a consent perspective. But what I do feel is that increasing solutions will include contextual targeting, which means that users will see advertising that doesn't use their data more and more, and hence I think that will change the equation a little bit. And so earlier, I think users could be somewhat confident that when they showed up on a publisher page, they were seeing something because of their data and their third-party cookie tracking. Whereas in the future, that confidence level will significantly drop because they will not know whether it's because of some probabilistic modeling, whether contextual targeting, or based on their consented data, and that's just going to create a little bit of angst and confusion because they might end up seeing less relevant ads and so on. But I think over time it's upon us as technology providers and service providers to make that life better for them.
Great, guys. So that was the last question. So thank you very much for a really interesting discussion and also great presentations. Now switching to Sweden. Hörrni, nu är vi på slutet. Vi har gått över tiden med 2 minuter. Tack för alla fantastiska frågor. Det här gick ju fort. 1 timme och en kvart. Jag känner att det gick hur fort som helst. Och vi har lärt oss jättemycket och diskuterat viktiga frågor. Vi inom vår taskforce kommer fortsätta med den här sortens webbinar där vi fortsätter utbilda och se till att vi får ut så mycket information som möjligt så vi är förberedda inför den förändring som vi står inför. Stort tack för att ni lyssnade och ha en trevlig dag. Ha det så bra. Hej då!